Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks, a podcast that can't believe they made a kids movie about how to get lucky. It's Sif Pop. Welcome to Sif Pop Weekly, streaming live most Saturday mornings or available to download later in your podcast feed. Unless, of course, you're a patron.
Perks.
Patrons get those perks.
Nemesis.
I'm your host, Aaron Dicer, and he's just a dude who gets hit by a car and eats mad ice cream. It's Andrew Ormsby, ladies and gentlemen.
That's my wife. That's my life boiled down. Ahoy.
Each week we'll chat about movies, TV, and whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our minds. And please welcome our guest this week. We're happy she's made Sif Pop her forever family. It's Alice!
G'day, g'day, g'day. Ooh, the applause. I'm still... thank you.
You're welcome. You deserve it. Good to have you. Good to have you, Alice.
Good to be
and
here.
we're here for... How you been, by the way? How are things going? Life good in
yeah.
Australia?
In a new house, so new background. Yep, I'm in a slightly different part of Australia now, and my partner owns it, so that's
Nice.
the bonus.
Nice. Moving is terrible. Moving is one of the worst things ever.
Yeah, and I did it when both of us had strep throat. So that was the worst. As someone who's had COVID, I would have rathered the COVID because strep throat just is literal daggers in the throat.
Yeah.
And I got it. Our moving day was my second day of having it. So it was like the high fever, the awful, just muddled thinking. And I was just struggling, putting my books on the shelf. But we got there in the end. So I passed out for a little bit. It's fine.
Oh, it's the worst. Moving is the worst. I'm glad you made it through okay, even with strep throat. It's like you had a menu of, can I please check the worst possible options on this menu of the day I need to move? Oh, strep throat? Sounds amazing. Let's do that one.
Let's go. And then hit both of us. That's a great idea. We'll both be out. That's exactly what we need.
So are you not in Melbourne anymore?
No, still just a different part of Melbourne.
Part of Melbourne.
Yeah, we're now North Melbourne, because you guys definitely know where that is.
Oh, man. Those North Melbourneites.
You're an uptown girl now.
Yeah.
You know what's hilarious is that North Melbourne is actually in West Melbourne.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Wait, hold on a second. The name of the area is North Melbourne, but it's technically West Melbourne?
Is there a West Melbourne in the northern area of Melbourne?
There's a West Melbourne, and it's the suburb next to my suburb.
Is it?
I am confused.
It's called West Melbourne.
It's kind of
I'm in North Melbourne, and then next to us is West Melbourne directly. You cross the street and you're in West Melbourne.
Wow.
That's
a Greenland, Iceland sort of situation you got going on there.
That's right.
Yep.
It's exactly what it is.
We're near the main hospitals and also the market, so that's what matters.
There you go. You got the place to go for food and the place to go for when you get strep throat when you're moving.
Exactly.
They say that we're in the Midwest, but we're not.
It's weird.
We're in the mid.
We're in the mid. Well, and it was always weird. It was always weird. Like Ohio is considered Midwest.
It's so north.
It's so northeast. It is so northeast in this country. It's ridiculous. But yeah,
nothing makes sense.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's a mood, guys. It's not literal. It's a mood. It's a feel.
It's a look and feel.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to have a mood of a show. We've got Samaritan, which is on Amazon Prime that we're going to talk about, and then Luck, which is on Apple TV Plus that we'll talk about as well. For our best ever challenge today, we're going to go over the best ever Sly Stallone movies. Not Sylvester, Sly specifically.
Yeah.
Sly
Stallone.
No.
Did you watch the wrong movie?
You watched the wrong
one. Yep.
And of course,
Sylvesters.
We'll do some buried treasure at the end as well. But let's go ahead and get into it with a review of Samaritan. 13-year-old Sam Cleary suspects that his mysteriously reclusive neighbor, Mr. Smith, is actually the legendary vigilante Samaritan, or vigilante if you prefer, who was reported dead 20 years ago. With crime on the rise and the city on the brink of chaos, Sam makes it his mission to coax his neighbor out of hiding to save the city from ruin. Samaritan is Sylvester Stallone and Javon Walton coming in as Sam Cleary. And this is I think a graphic novel, if I'm remembering correctly, or a comic book, or at least a superhero story of some
Nope,
some
it's
type.
it's just a superhero. It's not based on anything.
Oh, this is an original superhero tale. Why did I think? I thought I saw.
It's actually based on Unbreakable.
Little known
No,
fact.
legitimately, the writer based this on Unbreakable and I think a movie called Finding Forrester. Yeah.
And wow,
Yeah.
those are some interesting things that this movie is based on because the writer said so, but not in any way because you watched the movie. So let's talk about Samaritan, shall we? Did we like it, love it, dislike it, hate it, or it was just okay? Alice, kick us off. How much did you love this movie?
If I could get a refund on streaming services for the time I wasted last night watching this movie, I hated it. I really
strong hate.
I was struggling to find a pro. That's where we are.
All right, that's where we're at. Andrew, what about you?
I'm gonna go with the very low side of okay. Probably by the end of this, I'll be in the didn't like it, but I'll get into more of my thoughts later on.
Yeah, I went in with very low expectations, and I think that's why I'm able to say that I just didn't like it. Otherwise, I think I may have hated it as well. But I'm gonna land in the didn't like it category. I may even bump it up to like the high side. I didn't like it. And we can get into specific reasons of that. But Anderson, you're the one that loved this movie.
Yes, number one movie of the year. Here's the deal with this movie. There's not enough here for me to like say, "Ooh, I like this part," but there's also not enough here for me to say I didn't like this part. This is just such an okay movie. It's going to be very difficult for me to pinpoint specific elements of the movie and talk about them because nothing stood out on either end of the spectrum. Nothing made me go, "Oh, that was cool," or "Oh, that wasn't the good." Like everything is really mediocre. I think the acting is mediocre. I think the combat is mediocre. The story is mediocre. I can talk about the story. This is one of the most painstakingly obvious like a story to like they pandered to it so often that it was like, okay, we get it. You're going to do this reveal later on in the movie. Can you not make it any more obvious as to what you're going to do?
It's like the magician who's doing sleight of hand, right?
He's like, watch this.
You know, and it's like, and instead of just directing your attention to the hand they want to direct your attention to, they're like, but don't look over at this hand. Nobody look over here. Don't look over here.
There's definitely not this thing.
The quarter is definitely not in this hand now, guys.
Yeah.
It's very clear. No, I felt the exact same thing. That's such a great point. It is not at all subtle about its storytelling endeavor.
Yeah.
I think the story is the only thing I can kind of hang on to. I think they're at the bare bones of what's going on here might be an interesting tale to tell. And under completely different circumstances, with a completely different way to go about it, where it is a little more subtle, where it is a little more nuanced, where there is a little more expertise in the storytelling, and the performances are better, and a whole bunch of things are better. This is a story that I think could have been interesting and captivating because at its core, there are some things here that I don't know that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, like that I haven't seen enough times that I'm like, oh, it's this old thing again. You know, one of those things is the way that the movie, again, it's done poorly. Like if you're going to do this, this is the worst way to do it. But the movie's prologue is the origin tale, right? Like, and there are other movies that do this, and it does it poorly. But that's not a terrible idea. Like to skip the origin story and go into a more intimate, like story between two characters, between a man and a boy, and how this information impacts both of them, with the themes that are built into the story about good and evil. What does it mean to be good? What does it mean to be bad? The problem is the movie just doesn't understand what it has in any meaningful way, and so it bungles its own ability to really bring those things home. But I actually do think there's some interesting stuff underneath the bones of this movie that might make for if we can have a redo and just, completely start with a different, production team, director, all that kind of stuff. I think that's my main good thing I have to say about it. Alice, did you ever end up finding any pros? Did you ever figure out anything?
I do have 3 points. You just mentioned one of them, which is like, I think the concept was like there. I just don't think it was executed at all.
Mhm.
But I also think, again, on that line, I think there's a really interesting theme there around the idea of relying on superheroes on this powerful, or like on a crux. There's one bit of the movie where it's basically like, if they're superheroes, then people will just rely on that and they won't, pick the town or the city or whatever, Granite City won't improve of its own accord because they'll be relying on something else. So that was interesting, but it was like a throwaway line, and I was just like, oh, okay. And then there was that
Do you know why the criminals do crime there? Because they take it for granted. That's
gosh.
So
have you added in that wah wah sound effect into your point?
No, I should. I really wait, hold on. There we go. That'll work. That'll work for now.
Doesn't deserve that.
But the other thing is just there's that one stunt in the homeless area with the car. That was kind of cool. That's my pause.
Yes. Yeah. One split second moment of coolness.
I was like, oh, that's it.
Andrew, as the defender of this film, any other positives you wanted to mention?
I honestly, I try not to make too big a deal about like child actors and stuff like that, because I know they're growing and stuff in their talent and as well as like their knowledge of the world. But I will say, I thought that Javon Walton, but is it on IMDb?
I think
Javon
is his like
Walton. Like his,
I think one is
name.
his like, because I think he did like boxing or MMA or something. So
this kid, well, good for him.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wanted to say I thought he actually did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
So
good.
It's good that you think that. I did think though, like, is it just me, or do I feel like this movie was filmed like 4 years ago or 5 years ago, and now it's only just coming out now? Because this kid's like quite famous, like he's getting there. He's in Euphoria, and he was in the most recent season of Umbrella Academy, which is where I saw him. And he seems so much older in those shows than he does in this movie.
Yeah.
And that jarred me for like 10 minutes of the start.
It's a weird movie in that way. One of the other things, and let's just dive full into the negatives here. But
sorry, Andrew.
This movie has no understanding on how to use periphery characters at all. Like the Martin Starr character shows up for a cup of coffee at the beginning of the movie, and then at the end of the movie, we see him again, and we're supposed to feel something. Like, I think the movie wants us to, right? Like, wants us to have like a big mentor moment with this character we don't even know. I was absolutely baffled by how this movie used its characters. It was really weird to me what it did in that way.
Yeah. And the pacing of the whole movie was just so weird. Like, I felt like we were in Act 1 for 90% of the movie, and then all of a sudden we were in the climactic battle. Like, I feel like it was this, there's this guy and this young boy has a really bad life, and then this guy is also there, and he's got superpower, and then it just is kind of building that up, and then introduces a villain who's literally just a Bane ripoff. Like, it's just the music and everything he says and the way he sounds. I was like, oh, I didn't realize I started watching Dark Knight Rises. When did that happen? And then it just literally is the end, which, can I just say, I like, not going to spoilers or anything, but that ends the climactic scene. I'm just saying the main characters, like, death would have happened a lot.
Wait, hold on. Let me get this straight. Alice. You're saying that the human body is not meant to withstand
whether it's gas or heat or whatever you want to call it. There's about 8 different things that should have been succumbed to.
Yes, by a normal, non-supernatural human child. Yes.
who's touching metal.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
metal with anyway, so there's that. Plus, yes,
Yeah.
obviously, like you mentioned, Andrew, I was watching this with a friend. 5 minutes in, I was like, this is what the big turn's gonna be.
Yeah.
And I said the whole thing that happened, and it was exactly what happened, except, and this is getting to my other point, it never actually goes into depth as to any of the story elements. It's just like, oh, and this happened, big story moment, but it never actually explains in a way that's satisfying in any way, shape, or form. It's just like,
Yeah.
anyway, deal with it, end the movie, bye. Like,
Yeah, well,
and
I
that
think
happens
what the
so
movie
much.
Yeah, I think what the movie's doing, and again, I totally agree with you, is that it's setting up this twist, but there's no heart behind it. Like, we don't see any character transformation or a revelation of a moral quandary or anything like that. It's just like, it's a twist for the sake of having a twist, and there's nothing to it. It doesn't mean anything.
Story-wise, it's supposed to mean a lot. Like, story-wise, it's supposed to be about good and evil and what lies inside us all. But the movie, again, is so clumsy about that stuff that when we get there, it's like, well, does it mean that? Like, what is, like, how does it relate to that? Again, the structure, the idea is there. It's just completely botched in the execution.
Yeah, let me rephrase. Like, it is supposed to mean something, but we never see the character growth or like why they did that one moment that they keep flashing back to. Is that supposed to be the I guess you could say the awakening for like the right and wrong? And
I don't know.
Confusing.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's just like,
that's the point
you
I'm
can't
making.
just show it. Also, can I just say, it looked like I was watching, the Rambo character in Mortal Kombat, like in the game, because that CGI was just all the CGI.
I thought it was actually a pretty good deepfake.
Are you talking about the final, the final one?
Yeah, I mean, all of it, but specifically,
me.
with the just the close-ups where I was like, I swear to God, I was playing Mortal Kombat before I watched the movie, and I was like, oh, it's just that character. They've just put that character design into the movie, and it was not good. But just in general, there was so many moments where I feel like they forgot to act or to let actors know where visual effects would be in or whatever it was, because there were definitely inconsistent elements with the CG, and I was just like, oh, it looks like it was done in Windows Movie Maker.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was nothing for me to grab onto. I like superhero movies, I like edgy movies, I like Unbreakable. This is not it.
This movie's boring too, right?
Yes,
like, for everything this movie tries to do, I was bored out of my mind for half of this movie.
Well, there's no stakes in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong, the villain's main goal for this movie is to turn off the power.
To turn off the lights? Yeah.
Turn off the lights, which, by the way, that is the most well-lit area that's not supposed to have lights. There's like fans running. There's, it's...
just like in Unbreakable.
Yeah.
It's like when he's making his announcement to the world, revealing himself and whatever, and there's like 20 people in the street, and that's enough. There was no one filming anything. They didn't even do the lazy, like, of people in the audience, of people like holding up their phones to record it and it going live or anything like that. It was literally just like, you 20 people who happen to be in the shops nearby, hear my call. And I was just like, okay, sure. What's the plan again exactly? And then when it's like, I'm gonna finish what Nemesis started, and then it's just like, what? Where is the context? There's no context.
There was no context. There was no setup. Like, so many of the, there was I guess a heist early on where some important Nemesis type cosplay was discovered.
What were they?
And yeah, it's like none of that stuff had enough setup where I'm like, I understand what's going on here, and I understand what the threat is. I understand what everybody's motivations are. It's just all a jumbled mess. So yeah.
Agreed.
It's really hard to understand, Andrew, why you loved this movie, but You get to do.
I'm
I
a
guess.
sly apologist, man.
It's your favorite one of the year. I just don't.
How is he in this? How
understand
do you feel
why.
about Stallone in this? Like, I mean, he's kind of sleepwing through it a little bit, I think, but
Yeah.
like, you know,
That's the best
Listening
way I
to
could
him
put
try
it.
to talk about thermodynamics, I was like, oh,
the ice
that's
cream
the most
scene.
effort he's put into this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that people give Sylvester Stallone a bad rep, like as a bad actor, and I
He's
don't
not a bad
agree with
actor.
that at all. I think he is an amazing actor.
You can even see moments in this movie where you're like,
Yeah.
no, that's a good act. Like he's doing things with his eyes here or his presence here. Like, you
He's
know,
conveying emotion.
he's conveying like Sly is fine.
He only
Sly,
has like 3 or 4 emotions in this movie to convey.
Sly is at least on screen. I don't know about off screen. On screen, I don't think Sly is the problem with this movie. Certainly not the main problem with this movie. But you know, the movie has enough problems of its own that
Yeah.
you know, even if he had given a career performance in this, I don't know what good it would have done.
I feel
So-
like he must have known. He must have been like, easy paycheck. You know?
I feel like he wanted. I feel like he wanted a franchise. I feel like he wanted maybe a John Wick, like his own John Wick kind of character. He wanted his own superhero kind of character.
he's already a King Shark, so
That's
Yeah.
right. What more do you need? What more do you need?
I mean, if you want to talk about a guy who needs a franchise, the last person anybody is going to talk about is Sylvester Stallone, the guy who was
Yeah,
both
he's
Rocky
fine.
and
He's had
Rambo
his time.
and the
had his time.
Expendables.
Let's
I
add,
mean-
let's add an adjective then. He wants a relevant franchise because neither of those are relevant for him anymore.
Oh, Creed.
Maybe he
is
wants a
still-
franchise where every single movie's good.
Yeah, but Creed, do you think Creed is a Sly franchise? I guess you have to give it to him. I guess, you know.
I mean,
Isn't it
it's
part of
Creed
Rocky?
isn't Rocky. You know, it's in
No,
the
I know. I
Rocky
just don't. I
franchise.
guess I've just never thought of it as Sly's thing. I've thought of it
No.
as
No,
you know.
Creed is 100% about Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's. So you're saying that you think hypothetically he's looking for a franchise that he is the focal
I
point.
think it's very possible he misses being at the center of pop culture conversation with a big franchise movie like Rocky or Rambo, and he's trying to find what that is for him now. I think that's. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, I mean, everybody kind of goes through their career and tries to, you know, figure out what the next stage looks like. And so I don't begrudge anybody, you know, trying to find something that might hit or might work. But I do think there may have been some of that career math involved in taking a role like this, where it's like, oh, if this works, if it hits, you know, like it could be a big deal.
If you remember correctly, there was supposed to be an offshoot from Guardians of the Galaxy of all of the the Ravagers, and he was
I almost
supposed to
said
be the
Reavers,
main.
but that's a different.
Yeah,
different
that's
property.
Firefly. But yeah, he was supposed to like do an offshoot of the Ravagers. I mean, if anything, that's the franchise he needs to put his time and effort into trying to get off the ground, because
Yeah,
I
but when
could
you're in
see-
Marvel, it's never really about you. You know what I mean? Like it's interesting.
It's
like
about
unless
Marvel.
yeah, even
So-
like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans are like, you know, like Marvel is going on without them at varying degrees of success according to different people, but yes. So
It's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think, but there's nothing new in this movie. There's nothing interesting in this movie. And like, even at the script form, I feel like this wouldn't have been that engaging to read. Like, going back to that boring point, there was so much where I was like, is anything happening? There's just a bunch of conversations, and then the kid keeps getting beaten up, and then he saves him, and then he fixes stuff. Like, oh my gosh, I should not be this bored in a superhero movie.
well, that's that's the Unbreakable
where's the
part, right?
mystery?
Yeah.
That's the part that they're trying to ape from Unbreakable is the indestructible man having conversations with the kid that looks up to them. You know,
Yeah,
I would have
instead of a
never
rain
made
jacket,
that
it's a hoodie.
connection. Yeah, right. Yeah, I would have never made that connection on my own if you hadn't mentioned and bringing it up. But
This movie is like 80% Chumbawamba tub thumping, and then like 1% heart, and then I guess what is there 9% left of just a mediocre action. That's what this movie
Yeah.
is.
you know what it reminds me of? It
2003
reminds me of
CGI.
Bloodshot. Do you remember Bloodshot? I had a
Oh,
lot of the
God.
same exact
Diesel.
feelings watching Bloodshot, where it's just like
Oh,
this
that was
is
like one of the last movies I saw before COVID, and I feel like it caused it.
Yes, it is. It is transferable by blood.
It is about viruses, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This had huge bloodshot energy to me. Very similar thoughts.
That is
agreed.
Exact same feeling I got with that. Except
At
I
least I
might
didn't have to
like
pay
this a
money
little
for
bit.
this one.
I might like this a little bit more, and that's not saying anything than Bloodshot.
I actually think this is a better movie than Bloodshot. I actually think this is a better movie than Bloodshot, but they have that same energy.
Much.
Yeah, it's not saying much at all. All right, any final thoughts? One last thing about Samaritan.
No post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Nothing else to say. No, me either. No. Except for I always misspell the word Samaritan. I don't know why. I just want to throw an extra I in the end. I want it to be like T-A-I-N.
Tan.
Yeah, like
Samaritan.
I don't know.
Samaritan.
It's just tan, Aaron. It's just tan. It's just Samaritan. That's all it is. That's my one last thing. All right, let's move on to our next review. Let's talk a little bit about luck. Suddenly finding herself in the never-before-seen land of luck, the unluckiest person in the world must unite with the magical creatures there to turn her luck around. Luck comes to us from Apple TV Plus. Simon Pegg voicing Bob the cat in this one. Eva Noblezada voicing Sam, the main character, and Jane Fonda coming in as La Dragon. And our heart goes out to Jane Fonda, who just announced she's processing through cancer right now. I think she just announced this week.
So that's really sad.
Yeah, and it's just it's always a reminder that the thing we do, this fun, look at movies and talk about them, that kind of stuff, is involved with a lot of real human people that go through real human things and have real human lives. And, we certainly wish everyone the best. But let's talk about this movie, shall we? What did you think? Did you like it, love it, dislike it, hate it, or it was just okay? Andrew, let's start with you.
Well, again, low side of okay.
Low side of okay. I'm going to go with low side of liked it. Alice, what about you?
Yeah, I didn't like it, but just didn't like it. Just in the comfy. Yeah.
Aaron, #1 movie of the year.
Oh my God, it's your favorite now.
Best movie ever. Here's what I like about Luck. I think it has a lot of heart and it has something really important to say. And the thing that I love about it is this idea of good things and bad things happen to us all, and it's not about the good things and bad things themselves. It's about how they interact in our lives and the choices we make and how we deal with them. And I think that's a very complex thing to put in a kid's movie. And I don't know that it always lands perfectly, but I think there is enough of it here that I come out the other side enjoying what the movie is trying to say and enjoying the way it says it. I think this movie is really slapsticky fun. I think there's a lot of really interesting things going on here. Responses? Andrew, it seems like you have something you want to say.
Well, I mean, it's funny because that's actually one of my negatives is the animation style of this movie, because I think that they're...
Well, I wasn't talking specifically about the animation style, which I agree is a little bit lo-fi. I'm talking more about the actual like humor of the moments, not the visual way it's portrayed.
Yeah. So let me expand on that then. What I mean by that is the slapsticky elements of this movie, like, it's really Looney Tunes-ish. I don't think that meshes well with this style of animation. I think that
sure.
Yeah, that's more what I was trying to say. There's also something animation-wise. You say it's kind of low budget-ish, because I felt like I didn't. It's going to sound really weird, so apologies in advance. It was like there was no life behind the eyes of these characters.
Correct. Yeah, the animation is, in my opinion, the worst part of the movie is the execution on the animation. And I don't know if it's just because I'm not even sure the company Skydance.
But
That's right.
It's after, like, this is John Lasseter's first foray back into animation.
I did see he was an executive producer on this.
Yeah, so this is since he's become like the head of creative or whatever it is there since leaving Pixar, and it does feel like he just stole. Like it's like a rip off of Pixar, but
Well, he put
it's
John
missing
Ratzenberger
that.
in the movie. When you put John Ratzenberger in the movie,
I know. I was like,
it's
"You're
weird,
not,
isn't it?
You're
It's
not a
like
Pixar anymore. Stop
I know,
it."
like John Ratzenberger said something as his character for the first time in that movie. I was like, wait, is this a Pixar
Yeah.
movie? Like, what's
Ham?
going on here?
Well, everything about it, like especially if you look at the last few Skydance movies and this one, it's literally just like a rip off of Pixar's style, which is also
Mhm.
now Disney's style. And I'm just, that threw me off because I was like, well, but this is Skydance. This is a different company. They don't do this kind of animation. And I don't think that good animation means copying Pixar. I think that there's lots of different, I think what's great is when different studios come up with their own look and feel. And then for example, you've got obviously Aardman with their stop motion, and then you've got what's the one that did like Life of Kells and Wolfwalkers, and that studio has their 2D thing. Anyway, I think that there's some artistry to the animation style, and I just think that the whole time I was like, everything about this for me is, including the story, including the characters, is screaming Pixar ripoff. And that is on top of like, part of my positives is the fact that I do think the concept had so much potential. Are you kidding? Like the idea of luck and the land of luck and bad luck. Like I was really, really interested to see more. Cartoon Saloon, thank you. Yes. From the comments. Yeah. Regarding that earlier studio. But I think that there was so much potential there with the concept, and I just feel that it didn't quite meet it, especially at the end where I feel like it just wrapped everything up and I never got answers on a lot of different elements that I wanted to feel satisfied in. Like, it felt like I was just like, anyway, all is good, let's go to the end.
Yeah. I don't know that I fully agree with that, but I understand what you're saying. I guess maybe because I'm such a Pixar guy, like I never felt like this was a Pixar ripoff. I just felt like the John Ratzenberger thing was the only thing for me that I was like, oh, has a very Pixar feel to it. I think there is an animation style here that is so rounded off at the edges that like in Pixar has so much life in the eyes and so much stuff that it never clicked to me to kind of compare the two. But I was trying to do a little bit a look on, I was trying to do a little bit of a look on Skydance Animation, and I think this is their first movie. Am I wrong about that?
No, I think that's what I heard as well.
It's their first feature film for Skydance Animation. So I'm trying to think what other Skydance Animation projects there may have been, maybe TV or home video or whatever the case may be. But
I might be getting confused. I might be getting confused with another one. So ignore me. That's fine.
Some other thoughts. Andrew, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there was enough character growth in this movie, and I know that Aaron's really going to disagree with that, because it felt like, well, I know the character is supposed to realize, bad luck isn't always bad and stuff like that. That a healthy balance is what's needed. Not
that it isn't always bad, because it is always bad, but that it's not always unuseful, which I think is an interesting distinction.
That's a much better way to say it. But I think that like character motivations and like aspirations and everything like that never change throughout the movie. So I don't feel that there's enough character growth in that sense of like she has one goal from the beginning of this movie towards the end of this movie, and the aspirations, there's no revelation of like, oh, maybe I've been coming at this the wrong way. Maybe
it's very internal for sure.
Yeah.
All the character growth is on the inside for sure. There's not a lot of like exterior practical ways to see that character growth.
Yeah.
No, I can agree with that.
And yeah, again from the comments, I was getting confused with Blue Sky. So that's where the confusion came from.
Got
So
it.
like Ferdinand.
Yeah.
I kept going to go Ice Age, and I was like, no, I'm not 100% sure it is. I was getting confused. So my bad. Well, why call it Skydance if there's blue sky? Anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
Well, Skydance has existed. Skydance has been a movie studio for a while. Skydance Animation is a recent thing.
Yeah.
And Skydance has had a pretty good year. They had Top
They
Gun
had
Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick. So yeah, they're doing fine.
That's true. And they had Grace and Frank.
They're allowed one write-off this year if they're going to put out quality like that.
Yeah, that's fair. Although if it's their first animation, rough. That is. Whew. And actually,
No. I was just going to kind of shift us into something else, but go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to talk about performance, like voice performances as well. I think that like I was really excited because I'm such a Simon Pegg fan, and I just feel like I was like, yeah, about like, and to be honest, that was kind of me about all of them. Even Whoopi Goldberg's character felt extremely one note. And then like all of them, I was just kind of like, I mean, yeah, they're not. It doesn't feel. I don't feel the goosebumps to these performances. It just was there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot to shout about in the vocal performances. I mean, Simon Pegg does something interesting accent wise, I think, which and pulls it off really, really well, which is not a surprise to have heard him in other things and know his range. But no, he's not given the same chance to shine as you would hope, right? And I think a lot of that may have to do with the I could be completely I am guessing right now. So there may be facts out there that are different than what I'm saying, and I would love to know if they are. I'm guessing the production of this was fairly disparate. I'm guessing these people recorded in different places, and there is it is as much as actors are great, actors can do amazing things. There's something about being in the same room and performing off of each other that really brings people, to life. So yeah, I'm wondering if there is that aspect of it as well that kind of dries out the performances a little bit.
Just zoomed everybody in and said, "Hey, record on your end."
Yeah, or even at many points in some projects, animation projects now, people are recording their dialogue completely separate from the other person's dialogue.
Oh yeah.
So
that happens a lot in dubbing, like for Japanese anime and stuff like that.
So, and again, I don't know that happened here. I just know that it feels like it happened here. If it didn't happen here, well, then it's even worse for the movie. Like, if they were all in the same room recording this, I don't understand how dry the connection is here between the characters, because it is very dry. I think that is,
and that's the thing. Like, I feel, you mentioned, you're the family I choose, and there's this big
forever
emotional,
family. Yeah.
The forever family. Yes, there's this big emotional like heart there, and I mean, look, I'll be 100% honest. Did tears come out of my eyeballs? Yes, because I'm a sook when it comes to this stuff.
I was gonna ask. Yeah.
Very minimal, not as much as should have, because normally with this stuff, I am like grabbing tissues and I'm subbing into my blanket and it's like a whole thing, and I am open to it. It always works, but this case, it was just minimal, like, tears that I could wipe away with my sleeve, and that's not enough for this sort of stuff. And I was just kind of like, okay, found family, yeah, okay, not very original, nah, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't get there. I didn't get there.
Today
you'd cry more watching a YouTube video of like a puppy reuniting with a soldier coming home or something like that.
Oh my gosh, yes, actually.
Alice is actually crying now just thinking of when she saw. I have learned a new word today. Thank you, Alice, for the word sook, which is a timid, cowardly person, especially a young person, crybaby.
Is that not an American? Is that not an
never heard that before in my life.
Never heard that word.
Like, what are you talking about? Okay, yeah.
I thought you said Sookie, like from True Blood.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, Sookie.
Oh no, yeah. Well, Sookie, you say like Sookie Lala. That's like, oh, you're being such a Sookie Lala. Like you're crying and whining, and that's
that
all right. Well, there you go.
You are speaking a different
a
language.
Crybaby,
right now.
A complainer, a whinger, a shy or timid person, a wimp, a coward.
There you go.
all those
Well,
things. Those are a
not
bunch
though,
of
just-
different
just-
things. But yeah.
It's all about the context. It's the context. In this
So
case,
you could
sook is
use
just
the
like,
word, like if somebody's complaining, you could call them a sook. Basically, it sounds like it means immature.
If someone's complaining, you'd say sooky lala. But if someone's like crying or being very sensitive, you'd call them a sook. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
There you
Yeah.
go. I don't know where it comes from.
No, that's
Primary
really
school.
interesting. It feels like it has a connotation of immaturity. Like it's not just that
Yes.
you cry at things easily. It's you're kind of a baby. Like you like
Yeah.
there's an element to it of that.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
Definitely.
I love words, guys. I love words. If you didn't know this about me, I love words, and I'm also a sook of movies.
Yeah.
So that is definitely true. Any other thoughts on luck? I guess I will say this before we get into our one last thing. Did you guys not think it was fun? Did you not have fun at all with like, that's interesting. I had a lot of fun. Maybe I was just in a different mindset.
Like when
I kind of put,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just saying, I kind of put myself in a almost like a childlike perspective. Like I think kids would really enjoy this movie. Like there's like a lot of like really fun, like, I'm just thinking of like the penny floor at the Luck Factory is like really like visually interesting and fun, and like the way the carts go around and they get the pennies and what are they doing, and then there's just, I don't know, I found a lot of the ideas at least compelling to enough to enjoy. It's just a world, it felt new to me. Like a lot of this stuff felt like I haven't seen this before. Like this idea of, the way that luck and bad luck interact as like almost an upside down, kind of thing where it's like, there's the bad luck world and the good luck and the, and the machine that, provided the luck dust and the bad luck dust. I don't know. I thought all that stuff was visualized.
That's exactly what ruined it for me, because I thought that was all so cool. I was like, oh, this is like such cool lore, right? Like there's so much there in the concept, and the lore was there. I just wanted it to actually be more built beyond the surface. Like I just feel like it never really got beyond the surface. I wanted to know more. I wanted to be more within this world, and instead it just felt like a means to an end, and that's what disappointed me so much at the end. Like why do some people have bad luck and some people have, like, it never goes into that. It never goes into so many different elements about our main character. Even like her whole story, Sam's whole story is so muted and unknown, and I wanted to know more about her beyond she's a really happy person that has really bad luck, and once we delve into all the different elements of that world, of the good luck and bad luck world, I wanted to know more, and it just felt like it was more interested in getting to the act 2 and act 3 than letting me in more. And that's
I don't think you're wrong. I think there's a basicness to the way it's doing what it's doing. What I'm talking more about is just the visual fun it had. And the idea, even the idea of her luck and bad luck, like, the jam on the bread and just all the different things that happened. There's a moment, where she gets the lucky penny or whatever, and then all of a sudden everything changes, and she has this look when, like, there's a dish that washes itself. I don't know if you remember, like, and I'm just like, that's fun. That's kind of, like, I found all that stuff really interesting and fun. And it's just like, what would it look like if somebody literally had bad luck about everything or good luck about everything,
Well, do you think that creates a little bit of a disassociativeness with this movie? Like, either because nobody is either pure luck or bad luck, so there's no like way for the audience member to really relate to this character on any front in that aspect. Like, if they had some sort of good luck, but like maybe a little bad luck, like some people are like, oh well, I've had days like that, But when they're pure on one end or the other, it creates a little bit of a dissociativeness.
Well, I thought it was going to be that she got cursed or something, like, or she ended up doing something like.
That's the opposite of the point of the movie. Like that, I think the point of the movie is that we all, like you said, that there is no curse or blessing. It really is just.
But it is a curse, because like Andrew was saying, like no one is that unlucky. That's so unrealistic. I
don't know. There was a guy that got hit by both atom bombs in Japan. Some people are pretty unlucky.
Okay, but I bet you the rest of his life was fine. I mean, to a point. To a point.
That guy is allowed to be a Suki la la. You get two nuclear bombs dropped on you. You can complain about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Or you could say he's
But
the luckiest guy ever because he survived getting hit by 2
that's
nuclear bombs.
also true. That's also true. And I think there was a way to. I think there was a way to actually bring that into it, though. Like, you know how there's all these things you're not supposed to do because they're unlucky? Like, what if when she was little, she'd accidentally walked under a ladder or stepped on a crack, or like, you know, a series of circumstances that caused her luck thing, like whatever you want to call it, rating to just go off the charts, and that's what happened. And sometimes that happens to people. Like, anything, give me anything instead of just like,
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, because the movie does play with that concept with the Simon Pegg character. He's an unlucky black cat. You know, you could have added, you know, breaking a mirror or walking under a ladder. You know, you could have added all these elements, because if you're gonna materialize one of them into a character, it'd be fun to see all these other representations of bad luck as characters as well.
Yeah. I hear what you guys are saying. All right, we can go into one last thing. What is, I had a good time. I think I was just in a child mindset. I think I was just seeing it as a child, having fun with the kind of the different things. And but it's a basic movie. It's very basic. There's not a lot special here. You know, you certainly don't look at it and go, like when you watch a Pixar movie, most Pixar movies, you come away going, oh, that was special, and here's why that was special. Yeah. I don't think you come away from Luck going, oh, that was special, and here's why that was special.
No.
You come
away
forget
going about this movie by week's end.
Yeah, and I might as well. I might do that too. I'm not sure. I just know while I was watching, I just had enough moments consecutively where I was like, oh, that was clever. Oh, that was fun. Oh, that was that. I just, you know, it held on to me. Maybe that I watched it directly after Samaritan. That may be part of.
Well, okay, we have the context. There we go.
That's kind of what I said about Samaritan. I kind of feel about this movie. It doesn't do anything to one extreme or the other. It's not really awful, unless you're talking to Alice. And it's not really good.
I just didn't like it. It's just, you know, it's...
No, I'm talking about Samaritan.
Oh, yeah, that was just bad.
See, but that's my point right there. You see, that evoked an emotion. Yes, she hated the movie. She hated the movie. But you know what? The movie did evoke that in her. Whereas a movie like this, it's very meh, and I'll forget about it. I don't think Alice will be forgetting Samaritan and how much she hated that movie.
No, because I think it's a different version of hate. It's not like passionate hate. It's more like, this was so disappointing. I so don't care about everything going on in this movie. I hate everything about the fact that I am forced to sit here and watch it right now because I'm doing a podcast about it tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like that was kind of the emotion.
Oh, is that what I felt in the ether? It was your hate of me that I felt in the ether. No. It was like, I can't believe Aaron is making me watch this movie.
Aaron got woken up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat. Oh, something's happened.
What is this?
I did go, wow, you picked a doozy for this week between Samaritan and Luck.
Luck's fine, guys. Look, I will not have you disparage Luck by putting it in the same category as Samaritan.
But I hope you can understand the point that I'm trying to make, that there are movies that you hate and they stick with you because you hate them. It's the movies that don't do anything.
Yeah.
Oh, no. All right. Listen, hold on. Hold on. Shots fired. Yeah. We did not bring you here to express your ridiculous hatred of that movie.
I woke up at 7 a.m. so that I could have this conversation, and you come in here with this anti-La La Land energy. No, but to get us back on track, the point I'm trying to make is there are movies that do evoke that emotion, and that's a way, granted it's not a good way, for a movie to stick with you. Luck is a movie that doesn't do anything for me, so I will forget about it. And I think in some ways that can be worse. A movie that doesn't do anything can be worse than a movie that makes you hate it in some aspects.
I think both of these movies are completely forgettable. I think this is why I end up liking Luck and disliking Samaritan is I smiled through lots of Luck. I frowned through lots of Samaritan. Like that's, you know, and sometimes it's that simple for me. Like, you know, I like a movie that makes me smile. And Luck did that a few times. So, you know, it's because both of them are forgettable. You're not wrong. Neither one of these movies is going to stick with me. But but I will choose the movie that made me smile. So
I almost spit up my water because I read Phil's comment in the chat. Aaron has bad luck picking movies this week. So.
Hey, you said you didn't have that sound effect on there.
no, I just refuse to use it on myself.
You were very sparing on the soundboard, so whenever it does come around, it's like a treat.
All right. So overall, I think if you've got young children, especially, I think this could be a fun movie to watch, and also one that might lead to some conversations about bad things and good things. As somebody who grew up in a world of faith, the conversation of why do good things happen to bad people is one we had often, and I think is a really valuable conversation to have, no matter what your faith is or what you believe. There is an element of when traumatic things happen, when bad things happen, let's talk about what that means
it's your fault
in our lives. It's yes. In general, if you can remember one thing, it's all your fault. Just in life in general, just everything that happens to you.
Feel good message at the end.
All right, before we head on to the best ever challenge, I did want to thank our Sif Pop members for supporting the podcast and the website. So sifpop.com, great place to go. We do the best ever challenges here. Sifpop.com has a weekly best ever challenge with our Sif Pop writers where they pick movies from the different categories for the best ever challenge. Lots of fun there, lots of reviews there. And your support goes to support that website, and it goes to support this podcast. Now, the fun part is if you are a supporter at patreon.com/sifpop, depending on the level, there are different perks. One of those is your own dedicated podcast feed. We hear often how this is the perk that most people enjoy because you get an uninterrupted, ad-free podcast in that feed, as well as a bonus podcast most weeks. And right now we are doing an episode by episode conversation about House of the Dragon. So we recorded with Alice thoughts on episode 2. And we will continue to do that for the Sif Pop member show. So if you're interested in hearing our thoughts on House of the Dragon, now would be a great time to be a Sif Pop member. Just go to patreon.com/SiftPop. Look at the different options there. Thank you for even considering it. We do not take it lightly that you would actually throw money our way to keep doing this because you love it. So thank you for that. It means the world. And again, that's patreon.com/SiftPop. All right, on to the best ever challenge. Best ever Sly Stallone movies. So, there were no rules to this other than Sylvester Stallone has to be in the movie. I kind of gave myself a thing that I will often do and tried to only pick in my top 5 different franchises. So I don't have the same franchise necessarily in my top 5.
Yeah, I have one Rambo and one Rocky. And when I say Rocky, I mean the entire Rocky franchise.
I don't. So I may indeed have multiple from that include that character because I consider them two.
It's not
two
a set in stone rule.
Yeah. But we'll go through it. We'll go number 5 to number 1. If you have something higher than somebody else and they mention it, you can trump it. Phil, cut that out, please. I would like that on my soundboard. Phil,
I'm just going to send you an audio file of like 15 minutes of me saying Trump and VIP in different accents.
I'll have a complete. I've got 8 buttons here. I'll just have a complete section of 8 different Trumps, 8 different VIPs. Yeah, we'll just go from there.
That's all you need. I don't even have to show up in the morning anymore.
So then we'll talk about it. Whoever has it the highest. But let's start at number 5. I'll kick us off. My number 5 is Cliffhanger.
Me too.
That's your number 5 as well. I think it's a perfect number 5 for this list.
I was gonna laugh so hard if I had to trump Cliffhanger.
Well, if you put it at number 5, you can guarantee you don't have to trump it. That is true.
Not a bad movie.
What's that?
It's not a bad movie.
No, it's not. It's kind of silly at times. Like it feels like there's some silliness to it, but it's engaging. It's entertaining. It's shot well. The tension is real. John Lithgow is John Lithgow. Like it's Cliffhanger's great. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, one of the most famous openings in film history.
For real.
And it's not even like normally you reserve that kind of praise for movies that, are in the high accolades of like, The Godfather or anything. But no, one of the greatest openings to any film ever is in Cliffhanger.
It's really good. It's
Yeah.
really shot. Like the tension is perfect in that scene. Like it's
Unfortunately, the rest of the movie doesn't live up to it. It
Not
would
quite.
be but yeah, it's a great way to set the stakes and make the environment seem perilous throughout the entire movie. Is how it did it in that first 10 minutes,
yeah.
if that.
Yeah. Cliffhanger's a good one. Have you seen Cliffhanger, Alice?
Nope.
Yeah, I wondered.
Look, I have 5 movies, and they're 5 different movies.
You've literally seen 5 Sylvester Stallone movies?
No, I've seen 7, but I didn't think Grudge Match or I didn't think Grudge Match or Spy Kids 3D should make the cut.
Okay, let me ask you this: if you don't think it'll give too much away, how many different franchises do you have on your?
Okay, well, this is gonna reveal some things.
I don't have to if you don't want to. I'm just curious.
The only Rocky movies I've seen are Creed and Creed 2, and I haven't seen any Rambos. So
well, there you go. Well, that eliminates a lot of the possible choices for sure.
Honestly, that puts you in. That you were with Aaron and I pretty much in you've separated unknowingly or unwillingly.
Inadvertently. On my list of shame. I'll get there. I promise.
Well, Alice, what have you seen? What is your number 5?
Okay, I like this. I mean, I enjoyed watching this movie. It's Escape Plan.
Wow.
Alice, I like this movie too.
Oh, thank you.
What?
Okay,
this is amazing.
It's
Escape Plan.
It's
so
not
much
awful.
better than La La Land.
We don't have time. I'll just say with that movie, I've never stormed out of a cinema angry. Let me just say that much. Anyway, Escape
Aaron,
Plan.
I want to jump this Escape Plan boat and jump back onto the La La Land boat.
I have another friend who feels the exact same way, and I can almost guarantee you it's for the same reason. And I get it, but I would say that's the movie doing exactly what it's trying to do, and you have to process your emotions.
We don't have time. We don't have time to get into. I haven't seen it since I saw it in cinema because of my anger.
Well, of course not. Enough.
Saying,
you had that kind of experience. Yeah.
And what makes it worse is that I was loving it and then I hated it. Anyway, Escape Plan, Sylvester Stallone movie. My partner and I watched it. We were away for a weekend, and we were he likes Arnold Schwarzenegger a lot, and so I was like, you know what? Let's just watch this. This looks like fun, and it was fun. Is it believable that they're both extremely highly intelligent, people that can break out of any prison ever? Maybe not. However, I still enjoyed it. I thought that, this whole idea of the inescapable prison and being stuck in it and then having to figure it out through your brains and brawns is just, it's just fun. It's just like a trash movie that you put on and you have a lot of fun with and you don't think about, and it's totally fine.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. It's not a good movie. It's a fun movie.
Yes, exactly.
I'm a sucker for escape movies like Prison Breaks or anything like that. And yeah, I can turn off my brain and just go fun.
Yeah.
You guys are kind of making me want to watch this again. I don't remember thinking it was fun. I just remember sitting through it.
It's so silly, but it's so good. It's so stupid, but it's just yeah, sure.
Maybe I was just I wasn't in the place to enjoy a silly fun movie. I was probably,
Maybe you were just missing some alcohol,
Well,
Aaron's been missing alcohol for how many years now?
Yeah, that's quite likely.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, if it makes you feel better, I'll say this. This is a movie that I like, but if people tell me that they hate it, I go, I get it.
Yeah. No, I definitely have those movies.
Absolutely.
Definitely have those. Andrew, what is your number 5?
Cliffhanger.
Oh, that's right. So we're on to our number 4s.
Yes.
Ironically, that was not a cliffhanger, what your number 5 was. That was already known, ironically.
Where's the budum now?
There you go.
Oh, God.
Aaron, you're number 4.
My number 4 is probably going to get trumped. This is where I have First Blood at number 4. So Andrew will trump
the crap out of that.
Alice, what do you have at number 4?
This is where I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I'm going to trump that one. I
Oh,
shall
okay.
trump it. Andrew, you're number 4.
We're trumped all over this place. I guarantee you this movie's not going to get trumped. I'm going to go with The Expendables 2.
What?
Oh, no.
Come
No.
on. Preach, Andrew. Let's go.
Oh,
I
dear.
think this movie reveals something that we should have known and that we missed out on. Jean-Claude Van Damme can be a remarkable villain. He was so good as Valan in this movie. Like, honestly, like I could, normally you would have people pick, if they're going to pick one of these from the franchise, they would pick the first one because it's a whole bunch of their 80s heroes doing what they did in the 80s, and that's all that movie was. And yeah, I would get that. I like the first Expendables, but I think that the Expendables 2 is better in the sense that it was a well-rounded villain. I love a movie that really appreciates a good villain, and I think that this movie nails it on that front. Like, you hate this guy, and I think the acting from him is good. But again, if you guys hate this movie, I get it, because it's not a good movie, it's a fun movie.
If you say so.
That's okay.
I know
If
so.
you say so.
I want to hear some people in the chat backing me up that The Expendables 2 is good. I just love
it. It's just like, not just Expendables. We're going with the second one. We're going with the one with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
If it's better, then I got to choose that one.
Of course you do. Of course you do. All right, on to our number 3s. And my number 3 might get trumped. I have Creed at number 3.
Trump.
All
Trump,
right.
Trump, Trump.
Alice, what would you like at number
My
3?
number 3, I don't know, could get Trump. Also, I was looking just really quick now at his IMDb, and there's an Escape Plan 2.
There's like an Escape Plan 6.
What?
Yeah,
How did I not know this?
He's not in all of them.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No,
So I know what I'll be doing.
I think Dave Bautista takes over.
Yeah, he's in number 2. Yeah, and it's rated 3.8 on IMDb. So
let's go.
Alcohol galore. Anyway, number 3. My number 3 is Ants. Is that true? No.
Oh yeah.
I did remember he was in that.
That's the Woody Allen one.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But all I never thought of it as Woody Allen one. I just thought of it as the movie that I watched so much as a kid because I had it on VHS, and it was one of the movies that you have and you watch a bunch as a kid. And the bit, I have so many moments from this movie burned in my brain from childhood just because of how often I watched it. And obviously this is also the movie that's basically like DreamWorks' Bug's Life, and they came out around the same time.
Same year.
Yeah, which is bizarre, but that it's fun. It's a fun movie about ants and water, and it's pretty much got the same storyline as A Bug's Life. Just slight variation. And there's a bit where they try to break into a picnic, and it doesn't work. And I was a bit traumatized by a big foot almost killing them, but it's fine because.
And then don't forget the magnifying glass.
And the magnifying glass, yes, those 2 bits were the horrific. And to be honest, the animation is probably also quite horrific now too. But
it hasn't aged well.
If you maybe you've seen A Bug's Life one too many times, and you're like, oh, I'm in the mood, but I don't want to watch it again. You could just watch Ants.
Yeah,
that's the movie.
I will never get over the choice to give ants human faces. It is the weirdest thing. And the human bodies are weird too, with just like the extra legs. Like you're just humans with a couple extra legs. It's weird. It is a weird stylistic choice for sure.
Well, because the rest of the bugs in the world are normal. Like, remember when the ants go to fight the termites and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Termites were like giant monsters. Only ants were like the only sentient beings besides the human foot.
Well, and the wasps.
Yeah.
The bad guys are wasps.
The wasps. Yeah, I forgot about the wasps.
The crickets are wasps.
Scratch that. Scratch that. I'm wrong.
Which one is it?
Yeah.
All right. So that is your number 3, correct? So I think, Andrew, we're on to your number 3.
I don't care what people say. This is a good movie. If you disagree, you are wrong. Demolition Man.
Okay. All right.
Demolition Man is a good movie, like a really, really good movie. And I think that there is a strong enough cult following that would agree that this is a good movie. Their rendition of this utopian future that, like Sandra Bullock and them are living in, and then you bring in this hardened cop from a time long past, and the fish out of water experience is probably the best fish out of water experience I can imagine right now off the top of my head. It really is a great movie. I adore it. And if you think it's not, you are technically allowed to be wrong. And our rule on this channel is I am not allowed to say you're wrong. So I won't say it.
Nicely done. Way to sidestep it,
Yeah.
Andrew. I will not say this is a terrible movie. I haven't seen it recently enough to have much of an opinion on it. I watched it a long, long time ago and didn't like it enough to make it part of like any kind of rewatch culture in my life. So, but I really don't remember a lot. I really have no opinion.
I genuinely would say give this a rewatch. You might appreciate it now.
I've never seen it, so can't judge.
Yeah, see, you're not going to get any pushback.
Well, sincerely, then, from either of you, if you do watch it, please let me know what you thought of it, because I would love to hear your thoughts again.
All right.
Okay.
There you go.
Guys, I'm this passionate about this movie. You should.
Yes.
We noticed.
Yeah,
we noticed.
I will. In fact,
right,
I'm sure my partner would really enjoy it, so maybe I will watch it.
Let's move on to number 2. This is where I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I have it at number 2. Alice, you had it at number 4?
4, yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
4. Yes.
I love this movie. I've said this, I think, since it came out. I know a lot of people don't have it as high as the first Guardians movie. I think it's just as good. I don't necessarily have it higher than the first Guardians movie, but I don't know. I think there's something really fun about this cast and these characters, and it's just a fun watch. The Guardians movies are so fun to watch, and I really enjoy this one. So yeah, it's up at my number 2. Alice, what about you?
Nice.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if I'd have it like as high as the first one, but it is still like there are so many great moments. This movie is just chock full of them. Like the bit where Groot's trying to break him out, and it's just like this whole silly montage moment of collecting the wrong stuff, and when they're going through all the different wormholes. Like it's just there's so many. It's so colorful. The characters are developed really well. And I do think that the story's emotional center is like quite powerful too. I think Yondu's entire storyline is one where it somehow made me, like a character where I was like, oh yeah, in the first one, I really grew attached to in this one. It had such beautiful moments. I shed a tear or two in towards the end, and I have so much fun watching it. Like both movies so far, I'm having so much fun, and I'm so looking forward to seeing how they're going to cap it off in Volume 3.
Yeah. Yondu's story arc in this movie is easily the best part of the movie for me. And that's saying something because this movie introduced Baby Groot.
Yes.
To think that Baby Groot, or that Disney created both Baby Groot and Baby Yoda / Grogu, they know how to market adorable. They've really, cracked the code on that one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's good stuff. All right, Alice, what is your number 2?
This is where I have Creed. So
nice.
Yeah, so it's a great film. Everybody knows it's a great film. Michael B. Jordan is both a beautiful, beautiful man and a fantastic actor. So it's really great for me overall because I get to enjoy it from a purely aesthetic point of view, but also from a story point of view, especially because this was my entry into the Rocky franchise. I mean, because
really?
Rocky's just one of those movies, where it's like, I know everything about it. I know everything that happens in it because, of course, I do, because it's been iconic for so long, and so I've never gotten around to it. So I knew enough that I needed to know going in about Rocky IV and, the Creed and Rocky and that sort of thing. But I did really like the story. I thought that the mentor element between Rocky and Creed was just really powerful. And I'd written off Stallone as an actor. And so seeing him in this, I was like, oh, he can act. Okay. He can still act, this many years later. And yeah, it's just a really nice story. It's that classic underdog boxing. I mean, I enjoy a good boxing movie as much as the next person. So yeah, really powerful and well made.
Yes,
It's
Sly definitely gives a career best performance in this movie.
I'm not sure.
I am.
I'm not sure it's as clear that it's his career best. But maybe we can have that conversation.
Me and my
here
friend
in a
were
bit.
arguing last night after watching Samaritan about whether he should have won or if Mark Rylance was the right choice for the Oscar that year. I stand by the Oscars, but it's fine.
No, he
Oscars
should have
are
got an
so
Oscar
wrong.
that year.
Oscars are so wrong.
Yeah, I think Critics' Choice gave him the best actor.
So did the greatest awarding body in the history of Hollywood, the Golden Globe.
HFPA.
Coogler's amazing. Ryan Coogler is just an incredibly talented storyteller, and there are some choices he makes in Creed that are just brilliant. The way he shoots that fight is just astonishing. You feel like you're in the ring. It feels so real. The emotion of it feels incredible. Creed's a great movie. I think I had it at number 3. You had it at number 2. Yeah, it's really good stuff. So, yeah. There you go. That is
Sweet.
Creed. What is your
Aaron,
number
are we
2?
doing your number 2?
My number 2 was Guardians. I think we're on to your number 2.
My number 2 is First Blood.
There you go. What's my number 4?
Just recently read the book. So different.
Is it?
So different, yeah.
Interesting.
In the book, Rambo kills everyone. But no, this was if you think about it, this is the first movie about PTSD, because the word didn't even exist whenever this movie came out, or the term didn't exist. So like seeing a soldier's post-traumatic stress, what's the word, like animate itself in a way was so fascinating, because this movie does such a great job on so many fronts of saying so many important things, like American soldiers coming back from Vietnam. Alice, I don't know if you know this, but like whenever the Vietnam War was going on, the soldiers were drafted. Like they had to go. Like if you didn't want to go, and then when they came back home, the American public like hated them. So it's like they were forced to go to war, and then when they came back, everybody hated them. And that's what this movie is about. It's about a soldier trying to reconnect with his former squad, and he's just walking through town, and the local law gives him trouble, and then they trigger his PTSD. It's such a sad and heartbreaking story, because like he's a decorated soldier. And yes, this movie did spawn a franchise of just machismo action, but that's not what this first movie is about at all. It's about a man trying to scrape together the last of his dignity and say, this is all I have left. Let me have this. And the people in this town are like, no. It's so sad. But it's a beautiful movie.
It's an incredible movie. I was really surprised the first time I watched this movie. I thought I understood what Rambo was, and I actually would encourage anyone, and you too, Alice, like when you talk about Rocky, like I think I understand Rocky, like it's such a pop culture or whatever, but the Rocky movies are, each one of them is so different that you may have some misconceptions, especially like if you were to go back and watch the first Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky movie is not a boxing movie.
Yeah, how different it is than you think it will be. And that was my experience with Rambo. Was I thought I knew what Rambo was because I kind of understood the pop culture consciousness idea of this guy that blows people up and shoots exploding arrows at them, and that kind of thing. And this origin movie, the First Blood, which was the title of the movie originally, right? It was never called Rambo.
No, Rambo was the name of the sequel. It was the second movie. Is called Rambo. Yeah. Rambo First Blood 2, but yeah.
First Blood is a really well-made film, and I think if I'm having the conversation about Sly's best performances, I would submit that he is incredible in First Blood. Some of the stuff he is doing emotionally, and you talk about the PTSD. Although I would say, just so we save some emails, there certainly are many, many movies even before First Blood that deal with the idea of coming back from war and being damaged. I think of Best Years of Our Lives is basically about that. And that's like in the 40s. But yeah, there is such a heart to it here, like such an authenticity to it here, that it's really, really impressive. So yeah, I would highly, highly recommend First Blood as a watch. And it is violent. You know, I'm not saying it's, you know, it's just I was expecting it to be the kind of celebratory violence that I've seen in the other Rambo movies, or at least how they're portrayed. So
Yeah, it means something.
Yeah,
in
it
this
really
movie.
does. In this movie, it absolutely means something.
And that's why it's sparing. Like there's not a lot of it, but when there is, it sticks with you for the rest of the movie. So
yeah, definitely.
that's my number 2.
All right, number ones. I have Rocky at number 1, the OG Rocky. It is also, I think, in the conversation for Stallone's best performance. It is easy to forget once you've been to, you know, Rocky's 3, 4, and beyond, where it started and what it, you know, was about in the beginning. But yeah, I think Rocky is pretty amazing.
And the picture that is up right now is not from Rocky 1.
No, it is not. That is definitely not from Rocky. But yes, it is of the character Rocky.
Yeah, that is a picture of Rocky. Yeah, he was homeless when he made this movie. Did you know that?
Yeah,
he was living in his car, right?
Yeah,
and the dog Buttkiss, that was his real dog that he had to sell so he could get some food. And then whenever he sold the rights to this movie, the first thing he did was buy his dog back. But I think he sold the dog initially for like $50, and then he paid like $5,000 to get him back. So, yeah.
That's a nice story. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, since we're talking about him throughout this entire thing, Stallone's life is fascinating. Like what he dealt with, you know, like why he talks the way he does. It's a birth defect and stuff like that. The stuff that he had, and the stuff that he's ashamed that he did for money, you know, Rocky is very much a biography almost.
Almost, yeah. Underdog story.
Yeah.
In many ways. All right, your number 1, Alice.
Speaking of celebratory violence, the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that is the definition of that.
Alice, were you with us the week when we did the
I was.
Yeah. That turned into a shockingly emotional discussion between all of us. Aaron, I don't know if you remember.
As often happens on this movie, because as we've learned, I'm a sook. So
you, what is it, Sookie Lala?
Sookie Lala, yeah.
I'm a Sookie Lala Land, basically, is what I am.
In Swedish, it's Duar Lipsur.
Oh, very nice. Good to know.
There you go.
Tell us about how amazing this terrible movie is, Alice.
How dare you? Well, most would agree with me.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I am in the minority on this one.
I think it's just, first of all, it's spawned one of the best properties to come out of the DCEU, which is Peacemaker, the show, which is, by the way, the theme song for that is my alarm every morning. And it
Do you do the dance? You do the dance when you wake up?
No, I try to turn it off as quickly as I physically can, because it is like terrifying to get woken up by, do you really want to? Do you really? So it works, but it's so, I don't know, like it's so much fun, and I love every single one of the characters. And let's talk about King Shark, because we're talking about Stallone here. He is so great. It is, you know, it is this universe's Groot, and obviously much more violent and horrific. Yeah, it's just, but he's just so good in the role. Like, obviously, I reckon he was having a lot of fun. I think everyone in this movie was having a lot of fun. There's so many great scenes from it. One that comes to mind is when they're shooting up that first camp, and it turns out they just killed all the good guys, and you're just like, what have you done? You just had so much fun watching all these people die, but then turns out it was actually all the good guys. So you're really like battling with yourself morally pretty much the entire movie, which I think is kind of the point, especially with who the bad guy or the monster is, I guess. And that kind of ending where it's that idea of like, you know, the villain is in the eye of the beholder sort of thing. And I mean, that's kind of the whole point of Suicide Squad. So especially after the awful nature that the first one, Suicide Squad, was, the Suicide Squad is a decided improvement. So yes, very much
Absolutely.
enjoyed it.
Building off what you said there, I think the reason why the Suicide Squad works, the Suicide Squad. I'm just gonna say Suicide Squad 2. Please forgive me. Just know that's what I'm talking about. So in 2, they did a good job of humanizing the villains, whereas opposed to the first movie, they treated them as action stars. But
like
in
the
action,
Expendables.
exactly. But like we inherently know in the Expendables as they're the good guys. In the first Suicide Squad, we've been told our entire lives these are the bad guys. So we have no like inner longing for these people to live. Whereas in the second one, they humanize them and they give them some semblance of redemption, whether it be the smallest semblance of redemption, but you care about the characters in the second movie so much more than you did in the first movie.
I agree. And I also think the team building is so much more cohesive in this movie than in the first. In the first one, it just kind of feels like it was an afternoon and they were like, and then they just apparently loved each other at the end for no reason. But in this one, it actually felt like these are characters that got to know each other, would actually care for each other. You know, there were really nice moments between different pairings of characters, which also made the betrayals so much more impactful at the end as well. Where you're like, no, I was rooting for you. And so I just think there's more depth there as well. So there's more to grab onto. So, you know, it's all right, Aaron. You don't need to agree.
Hey, listen, I'm more than happy to be silent while you guys talk about your love of the Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad.
It barely missed my list. I'll say that.
Yeah. It barely came into my mind as even being a possible honorable mention. So
Aaron just hates all the DC movies.
That's it. Yeah, I'm a Marvel shill.
That's not true. You like Shazam? Right?
I do like Shazam quite a bit.
What about the Joker?
That movie's terrible.
What about the Batman?
The Batman's not that great. It's not terrible, at least. It's not Suicide Squad terrible, but yeah.
Oh, the fun we
Well, you
have.
know that Joker 2 is meant to basically be La La Land.
It's a musical.
Listen, bring it. Bring Joker 2. Let's see if you can do it right this time. Like I would love nothing more for Joker 2 to come out and me to be like, that was an amazing movie. That always makes me happy. So I have nothing invested in the sequel being bad. I would love for it to be amazing. Because apparently it's going to be a musical. So that'll be fun. All right. Let's see. Andrew, you're number 1.
We already did it.
Oh, did you say?
I shared Rocky with you.
Oh, I didn't know that was yours as well. Okay, so there you go. We both had Rocky at number 1. Honorable mentions. Alice probably doesn't have any.
Spy Kids 3D was a moment.
I put it
when I was a child.
I put it in my honorable mentions as well. I think the Spy Kids movies are better than people give them credit for. But
I think Spy Kids 1 and 2 are better than people give them credit for. Spy Kids 3D
fair
was a movie.
That's true. That's true. Andrew, what about you?
Well, if I'm looking back at like his old movies and stuff, because I normally would say like, oh, watch Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then all the Creed
I did
movies.
specifically mention Rocky 4 just because it's so different. Like it's like almost like the evolution peak of the Rocky movies. Like the Rocky was always leading to Rocky 4 kind of thing. Like it's wild. So I highly recommend Rocky 4. But yeah,
it was on rocky ground.
Yeah. See, whenever Aaron does it, he gets a whenever anybody else does it, they get whomped.
I'm glad you understand the rules. The rules.
As far as words, honorable mentions go for me.
Mentions?
Yeah. These are movies that are just near and dear to my heart. They're not good movies. I got to say that up front. Like, I think that's something that takes up a good portion of Stallone's career is bad movies that you just love. They're cheesy.
I have one of those in my honorable mentions for sure.
Is it Judge Dredd?
No, it's not Judge Dredd. No.
Okay. There's like Driven, Tango and Cash, I'm trying to look here. Just to make okay. Rambo, the 2008 movie where he's in Burma, is one of the most violent, brutal movies I've ever seen.
Mhm.
But it's actually a really good movie. Looking through here, I'm not seeing much else that
I'm surprised here. I'll just go ahead and give you my two. I'm surprised we haven't mentioned Copland. I think Copland is often considered one of his better performances. He definitely put a lot into that. I think it's worth mentioning. I don't like it quite as much as a lot of people do, but I think it's a good movie. I think it's
Copland is on my list of shame. I really need to see it.
Oh,
I really
you should see it, Andrew. Yeah, no, you should absolutely see Copland.
In it is like, right up my alley. It's like a movie that I should see. I forgot who directed that one.
Now it makes more sense why you haven't mentioned it. I thought for sure it would be one that you would mention. And then the terrible movie, I would call it terrible, but I have a place in my heart for it, just because there's some amazingness in it. In probably the time of my life when I saw it, but Assassins. I think Assassins is a really
with Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, with Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, that's it's a fun movie.
Yeah, it's not a great movie, but it's fun. It's a fun watch.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything else? I think we covered it. Thank you, Sly. Thank you for your service. We appreciate the movies you have put out for us.
It's interesting. Real quick before we move on to the last thing. You know how there's always been like the alpha dogs and like Hollywood and stuff like that, like Schwarzenegger, him, Van Damme, like all those action heroes.
Sigourney Weaver,
yeah. Well, the reason why I'm bringing up all these people is because I've heard like Hollywood trainers, like that get people in the shape for like Marvel movies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They've been asked like, who do you think like puts in the most work out of all the action stars, like to stay in shape or to like do crazy stuff? And every single one of them always says Stallone works harder than anybody, like physically on himself to like get in shape for movies. So.
I believe it. I've seen the montages. Like I know how hard he works.
So there we go.
All right, let's go on to our buried treasure. What's that one thing in any area of pop culture that you want people to know about? Andrew, kick us off. What is the treasure that has been buried?
I'm going to go with a comic book for the second week in a row.
Nice. Do it.
Yeah. So as you know, Marvel purchased Fox a couple years ago, and in that acquisition, they got the Alien and the Predator franchises, meaning that Dark Horse Comics no longer had the rights to do Predator comics. And ladies and gentlemen, the first issue of Predator from Marvel Comics has been released. I've read it. It is really, really good. It got me excited for the potential future of like where the Predator and even the Alien franchise could take off from here.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I recommend it unless you're Aaron and you don't read. So wait for the film adaptation.
I mean, it's got lots of pictures.
Yeah, it's got pretty pictures in it.
That's true. That's true.
There's a different world where I'm a huge comic book fan. There's a lot about comic books, graphic novels that really appeals to me. I think there's some really interesting artistic storytelling that happens in comic books. Yeah. And there's certainly a different world where I'm a huge comic book fan. It just never locked with me. It was not something that was ever in my even periphery. I didn't have any friends who were into comic books. I didn't nobody in my world was introduced me to them. And so when I was getting introduced to sports that I loved, when I was getting introduced to movies that I love, when I was getting introduced to TV shows that I love, comics was never even a thought. But there's a different world where just one person in my life loves comics, says, check this out. And all of a sudden I'm a huge comic book nerd too.
I've been doing that for 7 years, Aaron.
Well, let's say pre my 30s. Probably should have happened before I was 30 years old. Like it's,
well, I wasn't born yet.
Generally, that's when we develop those things. So we will ignore that and move on.
Think about this: since Marvel owns Predator now, could Predators and Xenomorphs enter the Marvel universe?
Alice is like, stop. Just stop. No. Please.
And
stop.
I've never cared about that stuff, but no, that would be too far.
You don't want the Guardians of the Galaxy to land on a Xenomorph ship and have to blow the crap out of them?
It would be like when E.T. showed up in Star Wars, right? Like, it's like, wait a second, hold on, come on, this breaks the universe. Let's stop. Let's just stop this.
Yeah, it's just the tones are just like
Yeah.
other continents, you know.
Yeah.
Just they just did something with Prey, and that was interesting. Just keep it there. It's fine.
Yes.
There was an old run of Batman versus Predator that was actually really good. So
Batman versus Predator. Fun.
yep.
I feel like Predator would win.
I'm also going back in time for a property, a pop culture property that has re-emerged this year. And that is Kids in the Hall, the new Kids in the Hall show on Amazon Prime. Yeah. And like, honestly, back. Like there are
How old are they now?
8, I can't remember. It's either 8 or 10 new Kids in the Hall episodes. Now, it feels a little different than the old show because these are different humans now. They have aged. They have, so I'll tell you what I really enjoyed about this. First of all, these are all really funny people. And then if you start there, you're always going to have a fun time. But secondly, they didn't try to be the old Kids in the Hall show. They are what Kids in the Hall would be now. And they, do skits and sketches based on who they are now. And these are great, funny sketch actors, and some of the characters in these sketches are really funny. There's also some really funny meta stuff that they're doing here with their real life personalities and who they are. I really dig the sense of humor that's going on in these specials. They're also on Amazon Prime, so like all the barriers are gone. So, there will be more swearing in this than there was in the original one. If you are squeamish about the full naked human body, probably a couple episodes you don't want to watch. There's definitely some complete, for long periods of time, full frontal Kids in the Hall nudity. So, that is something that I will just let you know. But I think this is really, really funny stuff. And I went into it not with a huge amount of nostalgia for Kids in the Hall. I remember, I'm squishing your head. I remember that kind of stuff, but I wasn't like a huge fan.
Yeah.
I just remember thinking these are funny guys, and I'm really glad they're back making me laugh because it's real fun stuff. So yeah, producer Phil has put the OG Kids in the Hall up now.
They're a little bit older.
They are definitely a little bit older now. But yeah. I just love it because, like Dave Foley has had a pretty decent career since Kids in the Hall, with news radio and some other things. And
Bug's Life. Oh, wait, no, we talked about ants. Never mind.
yes, that's right. Yes.
The same movie.
And all these guys have done various things within the entertainment industry, but it's fun to see them all back together, in their, current stage of their life doing comedy. So it's a high recommend for me, again, with the caveats that I mentioned. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as I see Cabbage Head again,
you won't. And I will say this. I think it's good you bring that up. Don't go into this expecting like sequels to sketches. They're not here. It's all new stuff, and I really kind of appreciate that.
Okay.
They didn't come to it going, "Hey, let's revisit all our old amazing characters." They came to it going, "What would we say now? What characters would we play now?" So yeah. I also think it's interesting how they've incorporated a little bit more diversity in their sketches as well, considering it's 5 white guys. That they've found ways to have women involved, people of color, that I really respect, because it'd be very easy for them to get insular with the 5 of them and just go, hey, it's just, it's us. So yeah, anyhow, check it out. Kids in the Hall.
Nice.
Alice, what do you got?
So when I sent my original list through to Phil and Drew, I then immediately followed it up and was like, no, I meant this. So I'm pretty sure I sent it in time, but just in case. Another Amazon Prime property is a new movie called Honor Society. So it stars Angourie Rice, who you might know as Betty Brant in Spider-Man and also in The Nice Guys. She plays the daughter. And also stars Gaten Matarazzo from Stranger Things, Dustin from Stranger Things.
Oh.
And the best way I can describe this movie is Clueless crossed with Election. That's the best kind of combo descriptor I can give. It's basically, it's about this girl who her dream has always been to go to Harvard, and the only way she can really get there is if her guidance counselor gives her recommendation to his friend who's an alumni there, and he can kind of help her get in the easy way. But there's 3 other people that this guy is considering to recommend, and so she then takes it upon herself to basically take them down, in various ways. She talks to the camera, like it's, she breaks that fourth wall, and it's very like, I know better, and I'm going to do this, and I'm brilliant, and I have this plan. But then, and the reason why I really like this movie is that there's a very interesting turn that takes it down that more election path later down. And, it really kind of touches on this idea of creating an identity before you actually know yourself, and understanding what it is you actually want to achieve in life, and not always going off your assumptions, and it's really interesting. It gave me so much more, the whole time you think it's going to be a pretty standard sort of like fun high school rom-com type movie, and then there's a really interesting kind of extra element to it, which for me really elevated it. So it's real. I mean, it's not that long either. It was really fun and a very, very big surprise. Also, I think Angourie Rice is like definitely a talent to watch. Like, she's gonna be, the next Florence Pugh. Just gotta wait for those right sort of roles to hit her.
I knew she was going to be big whenever I saw her in Nice Guys. I'm like, this girl's going places. It's such
and she's
amazing.
Australian.
Yeah.
I've heard good things about Australia.
Yes.
Yeah.
I swear I thought you were going to say I've heard good things about Honor. And like, no, Australia.
Honor Society is on the short list of, you mentioned, I think it was you, Alice, who was talking about, the movie selections this week or whatever.
Yeah.
We are in a really weird season for movies. Like for the next month, it's just really dry until like the awards stuff really starts hitting. And there's a bit of that every year, but usually there's something every week to talk about. So I have this short list of like streaming movies, different things that we haven't talked about yet that I can throw on a show, and it's on the short list. So I was definitely aware of its existence. But yeah,
you should be soon. More aware of it.
Yeah, Alice is like, I could have watched this again instead of Samaritan, Aaron.
Or Luck. I mean, either or,
Luck
really.
was fine. Luck was fine. Let's quit putting them in the same category. They're different movies. All right.
They are different movies. You're right. They're different movies.
That is Honor Society. It is on Amazon Prime. Kids in the Hall, new season is also on Amazon Prime. And The Predator, issue 1 has been released by Marvel for the comics. Well, there you go. We did it, guys. Congratulations on doing a podcast, on watching amazing filmmaking and having conversations about it. Impressed with all of us. Thanks so much for joining us today for Sif Pop. It is part of the Studio DNA podcast network. You can find out more about other shows on the network at studiodna.media or by searching Studio DNA in your podcast player. Huge thanks to Andrew for hanging out again today.
Thank you, buddy.
Big thanks to producer Phil for producing the audio and video show.
Thanks, Phil.
And of course, thanks to Alice who joined us today. Woo! Alice, send people on a journey of amazingness for your content. Where can they go find more of your stuff?
Oh, yes. Well, once again, me and my friend are still doing our YouTubes. So Clean Slate, at Clean Slate Reviews on Instagram, or just if you Google now, I think the most recent video we did was a review for Thor Love and Thunder. So that is the most recent video. Our next one is a debate. So that will be going up next week, and it will be at the end of next week, or at the end of this week, if you're listening after the fact. And that will be a debate as to what is the best Marvel property between Black Panther and Spider-Man No Way Home. And so I will say it was the most efficient video we've ever made, because we were both so raring to get into our arguments. There was no like in between like fun little talks. It was just like, no, I've got my rebuttals, let me go, let me at him. So yeah, nice. that was a lot of fun. So yeah, Clean Slate Reviews. Otherwise you can also find me at Ali G Mick on Letterboxd and also on Instagram. And obviously I am also a writer for sifpop.com, and my last review was Luck. Wouldn't you have it? So You can go read more of my thoughts there.
Well, at least you found a little more purpose in having watched the movie. You know, you're able to
yeah,
squeeze some content
more than
out
I
of
can
it.
say for Samaritan. That is
Thank
an
you.
hour and
See, different
55
movies.
minutes.
Yeah, they're different movies. We appreciate you, Allison. Thanks for being on the show again today. We also appreciate our Sif Pop members. As mentioned, you can be a member at Patreon, patreon.com/SifPop. Support starts at $3 a month. There is a bonus podcast every week that's in your own podcast feed without ads. Like I said, we're going through House of the Dragon right now, episode by episode, for our members. So again, you can check that out at patreon.com/SifPop. Lots of ways to connect with us. You can leave a comment, a rating, or a review wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. You can also email us if you have anything. That's feedback@sifpop.com. And finally, if you're having a good time, your movie-loving friends will probably like it too, so make sure you let them know about it and that listening is much easier than outrunning a bulldog, which is a breed known for their quickness. We will be back next week with maybe Pinocchio, probably Pinocchio, and then I'll pick another one from the short list, and we will see you then.
Nice. Bye.
Thanks to our live crew, Jay Bourgeois, Doc, Tyler, Gonk, Artist Project mentioning
Tyler Stone.
Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul is a possibility. That's definitely on my list as well. That just came out this week, actually, and I think it's streaming. So maybe a couple more streaming movies next week. I'm gonna have to go to the theater ever again, Andrew.
Why did I just re-up the movie pass?
I don't know. That's a valid question. No matter what we're reviewing, movie pass is.
I don't think you're gonna want to stream Avatar 2 or Black Panther 2. So
fair. That's fair. We will get there. We will get through this slump. We will get there.
Yes. Exactly.
Thank you guys. We'll catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.